Did you know it's actually easier to become a millionaire than it is to get a six pack? In the US, around 7 to 9% of people are millionaires, but only under 2% of people get visible abs. And here's the crazy part. It's not because your genetics are bad, your metabolism's slow, or you gotta train 7 days a week. It's because most people just follow the wrong approach. So in this video, I'm gonna break down the exact steps that you need to take to get leaner than 99% of people. Ready, set, let's go. Okay, the very first thing that you need to do is you have to count your calories and your protein consistently. Now remember Sean, he was the type of person who used to go diet from diet and used to lose weight, gain weight, and kind of repeat that vicious cycle. And the diets he did, they were very extreme, where he kind of gave up his favorite foods, and the reason why he gained it back is because he couldn't sustain it. But here's the change we made. I told Sean, let's stop chasing keto, all these fancy diets, and let's focus on two simple things for nutrition. Let's count your calories, and let's count your protein. And screw these diets, let's never restrict any foods that you want to enjoy, because we want to do this not short term, we want to do it long term. And when we made that change and started counting calories and protein consistently and objectively hit those targets without him ever feeling restricted, it was no longer a diet, we had accountability because we were tracking, and everything was basically just simple math. So your big takeaway here is you don't have to calculate carbs and fats. That's a bit of waste of time. And I made separate videos where I get in depth on that, but count your calories and your protein consistently, because if you do, the fat's gonna melt right off. Now you might be wondering how many calories, how much protein should I be having in a day? Stay tuned later in the video. I'll tell you exactly how much, and I'll really break it down for you. The second thing that you need to do is you have to strength train 3 to 4 times per week consistently. Now, consistently is the key word here, right? Because guys with six packs, they don't work out 4 times per week for a few weeks and then piss off for a month and then, start back up when they feel like it. It's kind of like at your job. Imagine if you worked hard for 2 weeks in a row, but then you decide nah, you know what? I'll come back to it a month later. Well, your boss is probably not going to be too happy with you, right? And you're probably going to get fired for lack of performance. Well, it's the same thing now when it comes to getting a six pack and overall just, losing body fat and adding lean muscle. You have to do these 3 to 4 times per week consistently, because a lot of guys, we go 0 to 100 and start off very fast, but we can't sustain it. So your big takeaway here is, like I said, strength train 3 to 4 times per week consistently, but make sure you're doing this strength training over the cardio, because we want fat loss, we don't want weight loss, and I'll link a video if you want more in-depth knowledge on that. But if you want actually a proven, good workout plan you can do, download in the comments below. It's 100% free, and it's just a free week that you can do and steal from our stomach shred. Okay, the third thing that you need to do is don't neglect the 3 S's. So what the hell are the 3 S's, right? Well, it's obviously going to be shit, soup, and steak. Okay, I'm joking with you. It's actually going to be steps, stress, and sleep. So let's break it down very quickly without boring you here. Now, steps, I want you to think as steps as a good complement to your weight training. And think of it this way. Weight training, let's say you get a steak dinner. The steak is basically the weight training. That's the most important part. That's the most delicious part, right? But in a steak dinner, you typically want to have a good side or two to complement that steak. And the steps is kind of like a good mashed potato that's going to help complement that steak dinner. Well, it's the same thing when it comes down to fitness. You want to make sure you prioritize your strength training, but if you have your step count to complement with it, that's going to help increase your calorie output in a way that doesn't really wreck your body, and it's going to be very joint friendly for you. So try your step count as high as you can, mixing with the 3 to 4 times per week strength training. Now, sleep. A book called The Hungry Brain. This is a fantastic book. There's a study done, and I'm paraphrasing it. I don't know the exact study at the top of my head, but it's something along the lines of this. This is pretty eye-opening. They did a study where men who slept, I believe it was under 5 hours, between 4 to 5 hours, and they compared them to a group who slept about 7.5 to 8 hours, and the group that slept less actually gained more weight compared to the men who slept actually longer. The reason being is, the more tired you are, your hunger hormones are gonna go up, and you're never gonna feel as full. So do the best you can to prioritize your sleep, and a lot of men just overlook that. And the third thing here is your stress. Now, I'm not going to preach too hard on this. My heart rate was probably about 180 a couple nights ago, watching that Bills-Ravens Sunday Night Football. Go Bills, Josh Allen. So I'm not going to preach too much of the stress, I should say, but do the best you can to keep your stress levels down. Okay, the fourth thing that you need to do is you have to meal plan. Now notice I didn't necessarily say meal prep, because meal prep and meal planning are very different. I'll break them down, because meal prep is essentially like, cooking for the full week, living on containers, living like a bodybuilder, but not every single person wants to do that. So I'm giving you 3 options, and I want you to choose the best option that best fits your lifestyle, but I do want you to pick one of these, because if you don't have one of these, it's gonna make losing fat so much harder to do. So option A for you, and now this is the traditional meal prep way that you see a lot of like bodybuilders and people who are in really good shape do. So they batch cook for the week, and they basically, they cook on Sunday, and they'll cook their meals for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, essentially. And when they come home from work, it's already in a container, and they basically eat it. That's option number A. For a lot of people, they don't like that, myself included. Option B, and this is what I do personally, it's a hybrid meal prep. So what you basically do is like you cook for the second day. So let's say, for example, Sunday, you just cook for Monday as well. So if you're cooking like, let's say, chicken on Sunday dinner, you make an extra chicken for, Monday dinner, for example. And then Tuesday, you cook for Wednesday. Thursday, you cook for Friday, and then Saturday, you can have some of those foods that you enjoy, assuming you're factoring into your calories and your protein, which I talked about previously. So this is what I like personally, and it's a good way to kind of mix in variety without really living like a bodybuilder. Now, the third thing that you can do, and this is like more of like a meal plan, but you don't meal prep, you just know exactly what you're gonna eat essentially the week going forward. So let's say Sunday, like you grocery shop, you get all your ingredients ready to go, but let's say you're the type of person, you don't like having heated food. That's okay, but as long as you have your food ready for you when you get back from work and you're not getting home like, oh shit, like I don't have anything, let me just get Uber Eats right now. As long as you're planned and you know exactly what you're gonna eat on those days, then this will be option number 3 for you. Personally speaking, I would choose option B. I think it's a good hybrid, but it's 100% up to you, whatever kind of fits your lifestyle. Just make sure you pick one. Now, as promised earlier in the video, I talked about how many calories and protein should you be having. I think now's a good time to introduce this for you since we are talking about meal planning and prepping. So a very general rule of thumb, and I'll make this quick. For calories, take your body weight in pounds and times by roughly 10. So if you weigh 200 pounds times 10, roughly 2,000 calories per day. Now, if you walk a lot, you can increase that calorie number by a little bit, maybe times it by 11. If you're very sedentary, hopefully you're not by watching this video, my previous point, then you can times it by 9. Body weight in pounds times 10 is a pretty good number. And for protein, take your body weight in pounds and times by roughly 0.8. So again, you weigh 200 pounds, times 8.8, I'm not a math major, but 160 grams of protein you would ideally want to aim for the day. So your big takeaway overall on this point, guys, make sure you pick one of these 3 options, the bodybuilder way, the hybrid way, or the preparation way when you know exactly what you're gonna eat. Pick one of those, and I guarantee it's gonna help start your fat loss. Okay, the 5th thing that you want to do, and this is a game changer, you want to minimize your liquid calories. Now, this is something that all guys with 6 packs basically do. And what I mean by minimize your liquid calories, it kind of speaks for itself, but I'm talking a few things in particular. So I'm talking like juices, like creams and coffees and sugar, even like oils, and so to use like a 0-calorie cooking spray, using a lot of olive oil. It could be like pop or soda if you're American. It's alcohol. So basically, you want to try to minimize how many calories you're taking in that essentially isn't food, unless it's like a protein chocolate milk or a protein shake, of course. For myself, like I'm pretty good at minimizing all those things, like, except for alcohol. Like I do have my whiskey, my beers on the weekend, especially now that it's football season. But if you go back to the original point number 1, I talk about counting my calories and protein. I make sure it hits my calorie and protein budget, if that makes sense. So your big takeaway here, guys, minimize as many liquid calories as you can, because if you're taking in a lot of stuff that doesn't really provide protein, nutritional value, you're basically just wasting calories, and it's gonna make losing fat so much harder because you're not gonna get your protein numbers high, and the calorie number will also rise with it. Okay, the 6th thing that you need to do, and this might be the most important thing, is you wanna make sure you're hanging around the right people and you have a good environment. Now, I want you to ask yourself this question right here. How many ripped guys do you see at a bar? Like, let's say got the 6-pack complete rip. I'm not saying they had their shirt off at a bar, but how many ripped guys do you see at a bar at 1 or 2 in the morning? Like, if you still go to a bar? Probably not too many, right? A lot of ripped guys aren't hanging around there because they're placing themselves in a positive environment. Now, you might see some jack guys with a little bit like of a beer gut. That's completely normal, but not too many ripped guys. Point being, environment is so important, and the people you hang around with is also important, which leads me to my next point, and I want yourself to ask this question as well. They say that you're the average of the 5 people you hang around with the most. So ask yourself, you have 5 people right now in your life. Who are those people? Like, do they have the same fitness goals as you, or are they really not into fitness? Because if you aren't hanging around people that have this similar goal as you, and that you're trying to achieve, then it just makes losing fat so much harder, because you want to make sure you're in that positive environment. Now, we're going to make something that's completely free the next week or two. We're going to have a free, it's called the school group, where we're going to basically help men over 30. We're going to have so much value to you guys. So if you want to get in that group, make sure to subscribe. Look up the next announcements in the next week or two. It's 100% free, and you're going to get more value in that group than you will in over $1,000 coaching programs. I promise you that. Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked it, please make sure to leave me a like and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next video for sure. And make sure you stay tuned for that free group.